Welcome to X-Wing Gamecast. This is Greg Duncan.
And this is Richard White.
And today we're going to be doing some squad analysis. Basically, we intend to examine 5 squads out of a number of squads that were submitted to us via Twitter and some time spent on teamcovenant.com. And we're going to take these squads and break them down into their strengths, their weaknesses, and ways we feel they should be countered. We had several squads submitted, and we chose our 5, maybe not our favorite, but the 5 squads we found to be the most interesting out of the bunch. And if you ever want to submit a squad to us, you can check us out on at xwing Gamecast on Twitter, or you can join the conversation on teamcovenant.com. Our first squad today we have is submitted from teamcovenant.com. Jeff Wilder submits his Murder of Crows squad, which is largely a TIE Fighter squadron. We've got an Interceptor and an Advanced as well in this build. Dark Curse running with Stealth Device to give him the extra agility. Backstabber doing what he does so well, which is staying out of fire and constantly rolling extra damage. Darth Vader with some interesting non-standard choices on him, running Expert Handling and Engine Upgrade. And then we finally have Soontir Fel flying a TIE Interceptor with Push the Limit, which is a very popular choice right now. Richard, where do you feel the strengths are in this squadron?
When you think about it, this is a really agile squad. Your dials are going to be incredibly forgiving to go wherever you want, and with the options of boost and barrel roll for Soontir Fel, the same thing for Darth Vader. Those guys can go wherever they want. Backstabber, if you fly him properly, you're usually going to have an out-of-arc firing. You usually can get that extra dice. And if you can fly to where Dark Curse is the only option to fire at, or if you can fly to where Darth Vader's maybe taking shots, because he can turtle up and he's really hard to kill too, you can start to control who they're firing at, and you can get some damage out of it so long as you do that properly.
If you are commanding this squadron, you mentioned Dark Curse, you mentioned Darth Vader as people potential to take damage. Who do you really want your opponent taking the shots at?
Yeah, the problem is that unless you manufacture a way to where Soontir Fel or Backstabber don't get attacked, those are the people that the enemy is going to want to attack first, and they're also your weakest defensive options. So when your strongest offense is your weakest defense, that's where your problem spot is, and that's where your opponent's going to attack you. And you want to keep your offense for as long as possible to win the fight.
So you would say an excellent way to counter this squadron would be to simply ignore the beefier TIE fighters in this group in Dark Curse and the TIE Advanced and Darth Vader, and simply focus down their options as far as damage are concerned by taking out Soontir Fel and Backstabber immediately.
Yeah, if you're flying against it, I would say probably Backstabber's the weakest defensive option, and he's your second strongest offensive option, even over Darth Vader, I think. You kill him first, and if you can kill Soontir, if you get really good shots or he bumps, you take him out as quickly as possible. Now, that's easier said than done, but that's kind of how you would look to go against them.
Now, you mentioned Darth Vader as a non-offensive option in this particular case. You know, we see Vader flown in a lot of different ways. One of my personal favorite ways to fly him is as a sort of buffing option that also has his one good punch. We see some interesting things on Darth Vader. What do you think Jeff Wilder is thinking here when he puts Expert Handling and Engine Upgrade on Vader? What is his goal with Darth Vader?
Well, his goal with Vader is to be in range 1 and to fire with 3 attack dice, and he's trying, with Expert Handling, he's trying to avoid missiles. I mean, there are lots of teams that fire missiles, and Expert Handling gets rid of a target lock. I don't know if I really like it over Swarm Tactics, or in this case, Squad Leader, but the thing that I think is interesting is that Expert Handling is going to be a bigger deal when Wave 3 comes out. There are all of these new options with Target Lock and terrifying missiles to fire with Target Lock. I feel like if you're the target of a really bad missile attack that's coming your way and you can barrel roll out of the way and shred those target locks, that will be a bigger deal when Wave 3 comes in.
So maybe some sights to the future with this build as well. We might see expert handling find its way to people like Darth Vader more frequently.
Yes, I think so.
If you are building a squad to shut this squad down, what do you think people will try to do?
Well, there are two things that you could... High offense, specifically missiles. I mean, you could foreseeably, if you have the right push the limit and target lock combo, you can one-shot either Soon to Your Fell, Backstabber, or Dark Curse. Now, it's harder in Dark Curse, but Backstabber's only got 3 agility. I mean, if you roll a couple of blanks, you roll 1 blank, and they roll 4 hits, you're dead. So, and even if they get a critical and it's a direct hit, you're dead. I mean, it's really easy to kill one of these with a missile.
Very, very true. Let's move on to our next squad. Coming up next, we have a Chewie support squad created by a friend of ours on Twitter, Damian Smith. It's another 100-point squad, again, full bore. Chewbacca flying the YT-1300 would draw their fire, gunner, Nien Nunb, and the Millennium Falcon class upgrade. We have Biggs Darklighter running R2-F2, and a rookie X-wing pilot with an R5 Astromech. What I see in this build is a lot of options for offense. You also have an easy way to use Biggs Darklighter to just sort of constantly keep Chewbacca alive. Where do you see the strengths in this squad?
Well, Chewbacca and Biggs work really well together because draw their fire anytime a crit is suffered by Biggs, even if it's to the shields, Chewbacca can take it. Chewbacca's got a lot of hit points, so it helps to keep Biggs alive a little bit longer. And if the enemy would go after the rookie pilot, it would keep the rookie alive longer. So that's a combination that works really well. So that's and not to mention you've got 3 X-wings, and X-wings can kill anything, and Chewbacca with gunner, you're going to hit something. I mean, you're going to be in range of something, and you're probably going to deal a damage to it.
In this case, I see a lot of points being spent on Chewbacca and the Millennium Falcon. It looks like half of the arsenal spent on just the one ship. It's a tough ship, but is it 50 points worth of tough at this point in time?
It's tough, but, I mean, I wonder, when it comes to points, I mean, you could have maybe, instead of Nien Nunb, Millennium Falcon, in the R5, you could potentially have another stealth device on Biggs, and then that way you could maybe use focus more. I mean, there's a couple of points that maybe could be better spent to either do better defense on Biggs, who is your first target, or the enemy's first target, or maybe even a missile or something to try and kill the enemy faster.
One potential pitfall I see here is a piloting pitfall in keeping Biggs constantly within range 1 of the YT-1300, in this case the actual Millennium Falcon. Seeing that could be an issue, how do you think other pilots opposing this squad could sort of maximize forcing them out of position?
Asteroid placement is very important with this squad this big. I mean, you've got to keep Biggs, a rookie, and Chewbacca all within range 1 of each other. So if you can have good asteroid placement to where it's very hard to fly 2 ships through an asteroid field, it makes it more difficult to keep them at range 1, where you can start to pick people apart. Additionally, if you can block with a low pilot skill, I mean, if you have a 1, if you've got a PS1 pilot, you can block and cause people to lose actions, and then Biggs becomes very easy to kill at that point.
If you were going to build a squad to counter this one, what would you focus on?
With Biggs, you want to kill him as quickly as possible, but this is a squad that you need a little bit of toughness on. X-wings would be good against this squad, and I would say if you could fly 4 interceptors at a little bit higher pilot skill than 5, if you can find a way to get 3 high pilot skill, high offense pilots, you could kill Biggs in a round, and
sort of
not even have to deal with
wrench.
him. Yeah, just I mean, the second that Biggs is gone, if you can do it fast enough, it just all hell breaks loose.
Interesting squad choice with Chewy support here from Damian Smith from our friends on Twitter. Let's check out the next squad. I'm not going to lie, I love the quote here on the title for this squad. All fighters follow me by Reckon from Team Covenant. Nice Lando quote with Lando actually flying in the squad and a couple of Green Squadron A-Wing pilots. Lando here, running squad leader, Nien Nunb, and Millennium Falcon upgrade as well. We're seeing A-Wing, Green Squadron pilots, both with concussion missiles and push the limit, so identical builds on them. This is an interesting blitz build. What I see here is a great option for a first-round attack, possibly using Lando's ability to hand out actions and get your target locks on your A-Wings early and just wreck somebody's world in that first round. You don't see that a lot in this game. What do you think the strengths are for this squad?
This squad, if it wants to, and if the enemy doesn't think that they're going to get attacked in that first round, this enemy can... This is so much fun. The A-Wings can move 5 and boost, and then use... and boost, right? And then Lando can move 4 forward, and because of Nien Nunb, he's got a green, so he hands out 2 actions. So he can hand out a squad leader to Green Squadron and the other Green Squadron, which they can then use push the limit on to get 3 actions and a target lock and focus at pilot skill 7. So there's usually going to be something to shoot at pilot skill 7. Not all the time, but most of the time you're going to be able to fire at something. And that's 2 missiles on the very first turn. Most people aren't expecting to be attacked. And some people, and I know this is awful, but some people might not take an action because they don't think they're going to have any attacks against each other. I've been known to do that just because you don't think it's going to happen. If you're caught sleeping, you could be caught without an action with a concussion missile at you. And that concussion missile, I mean, most of the time you're going to be rolling at least 3 damage with a focus and with the concussion missiles blank. So, it's incredibly potent, and Lando can put out a lot of damage too.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think the weaknesses are in this squad? I mean, you've got that great opening blitz, which we see so infrequently. Once the dust settles from your opening maneuvers, where do you go from there? I mean, your options are a little limited. Your A-Wings don't put out a lot of damage. Lando is nice and consistent, but there are definitely some mid and late game weaknesses in this squad.
Yeah, the problem is that if those missiles, the missiles are such a gamble. I mean, it's a good gamble when you're focusing and target locking with a concussion missile. It's a good gamble. But if it misses, you've got no damage anymore from the Green Squadrons. Now, they do have push the limit. They do have, so they can target lock focus, and they can even boost target lock focus with Lando to maybe get them into a range 1 situation. But even still, they've only got 4 hit points, so if you can attack even before pilot skill 3, you can potentially kill an A-Wing before it even fires that missile. So
if you were flying against this squad, would that be your main focus, is to just immediately try to take out an A-Wing? Would you come out of the gate knowing and expecting an early attack against this squad?
Well, depending on what you're flying, if you're flying smaller ships and you say you're Rebels, you can only move 1, or I think maybe 2, I haven't measured this, but it's either 1 or 2, and they can do that round 1 burst, but not be able to attack you. And then from there, you can move as quick as possible to try and either block or get into range 1 where they can't fire the missiles, and that favors you. So you can do that. Also, if you've got high pilot skill, you can kill one of those Green Squadrons before they fire that missile, and then that takes out a lot of that Alpha Strike. And that Alpha Strike's how this wins. This list wants to kill something first round and make it a unbalanced fight from there on.
From the very beginning of the fight. Mm-hmm. Very interesting build, and again, I love the quote there.
There's a lot of synergy in that build.
Definitely. Let's take a look at our next squad. We have another Imperial squad here, Cat's Counter-Strike from Will Balvans, another Team Covenant member. what we have here is something that I personally have been wanting to try for a moment, but lacking a physical ship to actually do it. We have Cass Scarlet and a bounty hunter running in this squad. I love the fire spray so much. The rear firing arc is such a blast. Cass Scarlet running marksman here and gunner. So great combination on Cass Scarlet there right out of the gate. That's an immediate and obvious strength for this build and something that is just a real nuisance for anyone flying against it. Explain to us how this combination of marksman, gunner, and Cass Scarlet's innate ability work together and really cause problems for the enemies.
The nice thing about marksmanship is it generates a crit, and so you can marksmanship, right? So you take that action, and if you fire and you get a focus, you get a critical, or if you roll a critical, you get a critical. So you can, if you generate a crit and the enemy dodges it, you can generate stress. Now, if they dodge all of your attacks, then you get to counter in with a gunner and attack again. So they would get to dodge again, and if they dodge another critical, they have 2 stress on them. So at that point, they're not going to have their action no matter what.
Effectively, that ship is disabled whether or not it dodges the damage or not. I mean, they're in trouble if they do dodge. They take a lot of damage if they don't dodge. That's a great combination on Cass Scarlet. We have the Bounty Hunter also in there as support for Cass Scarlet and more damage. Gunner on that Bounty Hunter as well. And then Dark Curse to be, I guess, sort of a nuisance / meat shield to throw out there is something that you hope they target him instead of spending the time shooting at your Bounty Hunters, because Bounty Hunters, especially compared to the YT class, aren't all that tough. So where do you see the other 2 ships working in this squad?
The Bounty Hunter and Dark Curse are there to try and split damage in between the 2. Any attack that gets attacked on Dark Curse is a good one. So if you can make him be a range 1 attack, where, say, the Bounty Hunter's maybe a little farther out, or something along those lines, any attack on Dark Curse is a good one. It's harder. I mean, if you're the enemy, you want to attack that Bounty Hunter first. You want to kill that as soon as possible. Or if you can manage to get to Cass Scarlet, I mean, Cass Scarlet's really who you want to go after. But I mean, you imagine the Bounty Hunter's going to be the first thing going and trying to be a gigantic literal block to be in front of the enemy.
Effectively creating, I mean, you're 2 moves away, even if you're running end-to-end with the Bounty Hunter there because of the large ship on the fire spray. What do you see the weaknesses in this squad setup being?
Surprisingly, it's not that hard to kill a Bounty Hunter. Sometimes, if you get enough concentrated fire, you can just really do some real damage to it. And either Cass Scarlet, or if Cass Scarlet or the Bounty Hunter die too quickly, I'd say within 2 turns. Not within 2, within the first 2 turns of fighting. Yes.
Usually round 3 at that point in time, because like we just talked about. Now that brings up an interesting point, since we just looked at this All Fighters Follow Me squadron. Running something like that against this, you have 2 concussion missiles that you could bring up immediately against that Meat Shield Bounty Hunter, or just immediately eliminate Dark Curse from the field of play and get an instant advantage. Squads like that, is that how you would build against this, or would you try to simply outlast those 2 Bounty Hunters? What would your option be?
The squad I was thinking was either if you see a high offense squad like 4 TIE Interceptors or 4 X-wings, that's a squad that scares you with a Bounty Hunter, because that X-wing squad can, without question, kill a Bounty Hunter in 2 turns, or even 2 Interceptors could kill a Bounty Hunter in 2 turns.
And if you run something like 4 X-wings or 4 Interceptors, you're really most likely going to get to attack with them twice. So you can completely eliminate essentially both Bounty Hunters.
The Bounty Hunter, on the flip side, this squad could, without a doubt, kill any small ship in a turn, if it wanted to. So, I mean, there is that to be said.
Strength in numbers against this squad, for sure. Let's take a look at our last squad from the day. Mr. Froggies here brings us Frog Squad. This is a nice build as far as splitting damage is concerned. We have Wedge Antilles here running an R2 Astromech, Swarm Tactics, and Stealth Device. again making him tough to hit, and Wedge, as everyone that plays X-Wing knows, with his innate ability, just causes serious problems as far as damage output throughout the entire game. Luke Skywalker running R2-D2, very traditional there, draw their fire and shield upgrade, and then Biggs Darklighter with his constantly annoying you must shoot me ability, running Stealth Device, which is just another layer of irritation added to Biggs' constant presence in this. Obviously, split damage is a strength in this squad. How else does this work? I see some synergy here. Give us some insight onto that.
Well, this squad works because every piece works with another piece. The thing about Biggs is, you know he's going to be attacked. He has to be attacked. And so he's got Stealth Device on there. And the thing, everyone doesn't like Stealth Device on Biggs. I completely disagree. Because if Stealth Device, that third dice, prevents 1 damage, either through focus or an evade roll, it paid for itself because it only costed 3 points for 1 hit point. It also offers the potential to provide more than 1 hit point of protection. So Stealth Device is, in my opinion, better than Shield Upgrade most of the time. That's the fun part. Luke actually is that one other time that it's a great opportunity in conjunction with Biggs and draw their fire, because he can draw a crit from Biggs, and since he's not taking concentrated fire, he's probably going to get at least 1 green maneuver in before he's attacked again. So he's going to regenerate that shield, and with the extra shield upgrade, he's going to have high shields most of the time, and he's going to have high hit points. And once Biggs does die, it's going to make him look like an unappealing target. But the nice thing about Wedge is normally you'd want to attack Wedge, but he has Stealth Device as well, which is also just an incredible pain to attack. And the final thing is, the pilot skills attacks with Swarm Tactics is 998. That's 3 X-Wing attacks within the first 2 rounds of combat.
And that's a huge amount of damage right at the beginning of combat. You have very few people with pilot skill high enough to act before them, especially depending on how initiative rolls. You can be attacking first every round with this squad, and with 3 X-Wings, that's at range 1, that's a series pilot's 12 attack dice.
12 damage by round 8 if you get into range 1 properly. It's 9 if it's at range 3.
So we've spent a lot of time loving the way this squad splits damage, and I find this squad to be very interesting and fun as well. It's a very solidly built squad. It's good offense, good old-fashioned defense, where you just really can't take any one ship out too quick. What are the weaknesses of this squad?
If Biggs dies fast enough, and Biggs can die in 1 turn, you can kill Biggs in 1 turn.
No question.
If that happens, now you've got 2 ships versus maybe potentially 6, 7, 8 ships. I mean,
especially flying against the squad.
Swarms are still powerful. A Swarm won the recent Star Wars World event.
Okay.
So I mean, swarms are still strong. I mean,
hard to pilot, but it's a lot of attacks. It's a lot of dice to dodge.
So if you end up in a 6 versus 2 situation, it's not over, but it's looking pretty grim.
What would you fly against this squad if you had a choice? If you could know it in advance and pick something to counter?
I might fly a Swarm. I mean, that's a great combat. That's a great something that can potentially survive either through dice rolls or something. I mean, the nice thing is something agile could go against this, because if you can get out of the fire arcs, it's only 3 fire arcs to worry about.
You know, we've seen builds with TIE interceptors and Stealth Device on them. That would be interesting to see if they could
push
get out
the
of the way.
limit to be able to, boost and barrel roll out of the way to get a shot where they can't get a shot.
This is an interesting squad, though. I'm glad we took a look at it today. Thanks again to Mr. Froggies with his submission of Frog Squad. And thanks again to everybody who took the time to submit squads. We may come back around and visit your squad at another opportunity. Anybody that wants to submit a new squad, like I said at the beginning of the video, please interact with us on Twitter at xwing Gamecast, or feel free to join the conversation at teamcovenant.com. You can see the graphic on screen for both of those websites, so no confusions about spelling there. Again, this is Greg Duncan.
This is Richard White.
And we thank you for watching X-Wing Gamecast. Mm-hmm. Next episode, we'll be doing another actual Gamecast, playing another round of X-Wing. We'll be having Jonathan from Game Cafe, a local tabletop selling store here. They sell all kinds of games, and we'd be happy to have him play with us. And we'll also be having Brandon, who is a local regional champion, playing against him. We look forward to seeing what they'll do. Thank you.
Cool.